Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome. As the tour rolls into Road America in the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship. Oh, it's a big circuit, and you can understand why. People just love racing around here. High speeds, fast flowing corners, and that's just the country roads around Road America, let alone the actual circuit itself. It's an absolute stunning place to be in North America. I am Tim Cox. We've got Samila Kumo in the virtual production trailer, and as always, joined by Aaron Smith and Oliver Quoker. Gentlemen, Aaron, I'll kickstart with yourself. This place is just an absolute beast of a place. High speeds, and just it's always great racing around here.
Yeah, sort of no matter what series you do, whether it's GT cars, Formula, this track always delivers. I mean, you know, we've got the likes of IMSA that come here, of course IndyCar, and every single time it's an absolute banger of a track. The drivers love it, the crowd love it, we love it, and well, I don't think today's going to be any different.
Oliver, you qualified just going the way at the moment. Carlos Durescio has provisional pole. You obviously just completed either one lap. Some of them come around to complete their first lap, in fact. Oliver, you said you've been, having a bit of a dip in and racing around here this week. What's it been like? I can imagine those draft fests have been in full force.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't easy. That's for sure. It was very challenging to drive the car because we have a lot of bumps on this track and we use the curbs quite a lot. So it is very, very difficult to get the maximum momentum out of the corner, as we see here from Carlos going wide out of the last corner. And yeah, as you said, the draft is the biggest point or the biggest attribute of this week. It's just very difficult to get away from someone, and it's quite usual to have just a bundle of cars stacked together trying to overtake each other, and that's a really, really good recipe for some great racing, I guess.
That most certainly is indeed. Carlos Durescio going faster there on his second lap. 147.3, looking strong for pole position. This iconic circuit. Well, that is until Yukimi Harara rocks up and the Japanese driver goes 11/100ths quicker. That is some time to beat, and I can tell you that Samborski had his second lap. Well, he had to abandon it, so he's only looking good enough for third at the moment at as things stand. However, Mark Ponnick's on a bit of a decent lap here, the Canadian. Hoping a strong result. Moving around up the hill, and cresting it to the finish line. I'm sure we're going to see a bit of a drag race along for these parts. And does he go faster? Yes, he does, but it's only good enough to improve ahead up to 7th, displacing Yuki Shirakawa there. He drops down into 8th. Those two will be sharing the 4th row as things stand at the moment. I can tell you that Victor Ord, he is still on a flyer. Likewise, Lewis Morgan. Marlon Mordan, he was quick during practice. What can he do? Currently languishing down at 18th. As he comes across the line, what does he achieve? Does he go faster? Well, no. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He heads all the way up into 3rd, 2nd row of the grid. That is an amazing lap from him. It's got Dennis Furkheim left to complete a lap. Everyone else is done and dusted. I can tell you, Lewis Brooker and Jay Lawrence, I think their time's deleted, so they have not set a time. They will start on the back row. Dennis, well, he had his first time deleted, so he heads through Canada Corner. And he's on a real charge here to move himself up, but he's run out of time, so it doesn't count. However, because he was out on track, he does move up a couple of places there, so at least that is something. So let's we'll head across now into the race session. Let's bring up your grid from Road America. Rara and Duresho start from the front row with Mordan and Samborski on the 2nd row of the grid. 3rd row is Lopez and DeCarmo with Cornu and Ponick making up the 4th row of the grid. Shirakawa and Milgran ran out your top 10 in the 5th row of the grid with Wazamowski and Byrne making up the 6th row. That's of course James Byrne, because it's not behind him. It's Jamie Byrne. He starts alongside Victor Ord with Ennis Akin. He starts alongside Decker. Okay, I'll get my words out. I'm tripping over him here. Dylan Freckleton. Should know his name. He's been around this series for long enough. Leon Mez has got fellow Frenchman Sylvain Moraine alongside him on row 9, with row 10 being Dennis Furkheim and Lewis Brooker, with a 21 car grid being rounded out by Jay Lawrence. 2 men from down under. They're at the bottom of the grid. Will they manage to rise up any positions? We don't have long to find out, just waiting for the last few drivers to take the grid. We've got 20 laps here today. 20 laps of excitement, fun and drama. Samborski, if he wants to do his usual of get to the front and pull away, he's going to have his work cut out, as Oliver was saying earlier. Draft drains incredibly strong. In fact, I was talking to Oliver before the show, and he was saying even drivers that are about a second a lap quicker, if you can't break the draft, then they can pretty much stay in your toe the whole way around. And it's really hard to shake them, so he's going to have his work cut out if he wants to deploy his usual tactics. Just waiting on one last driver. That is Moraine Mordan to take to the grid. He's got a few seconds left. 13 to be precise. We'll make that 10 now. That's leaving it incredibly late. There we go. Just popping onto the grid there. Does the number 5 into 3rd as here come the lights. As let's get ready to go racing from Road America in Formula 3.5 on iRacing. As we are green and we are away. Who's going to come out on top? Well, horror. An epic start from him, and instantly Mordan just tucks in behind him. Samborski left on the left side of the track all by himself. No one to drag off on the route down to turn 1. But this contact is a big incident. And after their brilliant start, Duresho and Harara come together. And that is race ending, and further down, Moraine, well, there's 3 further cars, in fact. Moraine, Brooker, and Lawrence all caught up in separate incidents. Wow, yeah, what a crazy start, Aaron. Oh, with the Burns as well.
Yeah, that was... I think Hara just took too much speed into turn 1 on those cold tyres. Got a bit too optimistic, and that's where his inexperience comes into play, as he is quick. He did win a race last season, but all these other drivers have been doing this for a long time into turn 1. You see, the car just wasn't having any of it. Duresho, an innocent party in that. And that leaves Mordan and Zamborski to fight for the win. 2 big names already out. And here is the 2 Burns having their own incident. James and Jamie both going off in sync. Father and son, of course. But yeah, what an absolutely chaotic start.
Wow, what a start. As we head down towards Canada Corner for the first time, Mordan is already broken out an 0.8 of a gap over Samborski, but that is closing. He's still within draft range. He's going to play a part, and pretty much all nose to tail from there back. Lopez to Kamo, Cornu, Shirakawa. He's had a good start. He's made up 3 places. However, Dennis Furkheim from the back row of the grid, he's at 9 into 10, capitalising from all of that chaos and carnage down in the first couple of corners. Great start from him up into 10. We come across the line, more down Lisa Swarovski, Lopez to Karma, Cornu, Shirakawa, Ponic, Marguan, Fazamowski, Furkheim, Ord, Freckleton, Akinburn, Moraine. We've got going again. To be fair, we've only really lost Hara and Mays. There's a lovely move up the inside there from Furkheim. Wow, invigorated by the start that he has made. That's now 10 places. He has gained up into 9th, but, well, Oliver, I mean, talk to us about that start. Was it cold tyres, overcommitment, a combination of the two?
Yeah, it was pretty much, as you said, a combination of these two factors. We run quite low downforce on this track. I mean, we see high downforce configuration on this car right now, but we really run the lowest wing setting possible with that car, as we see. And is Akin going wide?
Well, I think he might have even had a spin down into 5 potentially, because very slow to get going again, and he falls down to the back of the field. Of cars still running, however, Lawrence has got out and going in 17th from the pit lane. Oh, some big names, some big casualties, and well, we're only just about on to lap 2 here from Road America. I tell you what, Furkheim is in maximum attack mode right now. That's Lois Mugwan, who's potentially going to be his next victim. Here we go, bouncing off the Rev Lewinser. And oh, someone off in front of him. That's Shirakawa down at Canada Corner.
Yeah, Shirakawa again making another mistake. I don't think we've seen him not make a mistake in one of these races this season. He does need to maybe just focus on the consistency more than anything else. I think he might have just outbraked himself into Canada Corner. But this battle for the lead, Zamborski all over the back of Mordan, a familiar sight, the American at his home track, along with a few other drivers, but he's faring a lot better than some of the other Americans in today's race. But we know Mordan's no slouch. These two, of course, race winners in this series. Obviously, Zamborski a lot more race wins than anyone else, but we'll see what these two can do. As I believe this is the first time they're going head-to-head.
Yeah, certainly from my memory, yes. So it's going to be an interesting one. We'll see how these two really play this one out and how they get on racing wheel to wheel. However, don't discredit Lopez, because he's not that far behind. Likewise to Carmo and even Cornu, realistically in 5th. They're still in with a shout, in with a potential here. Hopefully, as they start to group up a bit more together, you know, a 5-way fight for the lead. So what we love to see is head round the carousel now. You see Lopez is gaining. You can visually see it. Now only 8 attempts. That's off Mordan. He's about half a second behind Samborski. As we head through the kink, down towards Canada Corner, and Mordan looking like he's going to go defensive. Samborski has a bit of a look, decides to dip back into the toe. But now Lopez is all onto the back of them. And what was a half a second gap to Samborski, now down to a measly 3 attempts. And that's going to close up even further as we head up the hill across this iconic start-finish line here at Road America. Takame just dropping back a little bit. He is coming under a bit of threat from Dennis Corney, the Frenchman. Well, he's definitely making up some place. He's already up 2 from the start. Third comes, well, he's dispatched from Mugwan. He's now up into 7th as Samborski takes control here at Road America. He's into the lead, but Thurcom, yeah, he's up 12 now into 7th. He's flying.
Yeah, Furcom is putting in a fantastic performance so far, but he's still got a little bit of work to do. He's got Ponic about a second ahead of him, but the real question is Mordan going to fight this one back? And remember, he's got Lopez right on his rear wing, but I think Mordan is playing this one safe. But let's see what Lopez does. I think Lopez is as well. And this race is it seems to be more about mind games than anything else, and waiting for a good opportunity. And well, we'll see if Zamborski can do what he usually does and pull away, or if these guys can stay with him. But everyone else still giving chase, and as you were saying, actually keeping well within a good few seconds within Zamborski.
Yeah, Takama and Cornu have just, where these guys were just attacking one another a little bit, that's allowed the Takama and Cornu just to catch up enough, just to sneak into the draft. I mean, Oliver, it's I say sneak into the draft, it's still quite a sizable, it's about 8 and 9 tenths, isn't it, which you can pick up a slipstream from the car ahead in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's I would guess it's around 1 second mark, but you really start to feel it when you're 8/10 behind, which is at that point is still an advantage because you can't feel the dirty air that much, so your car is not changing balance. That's good, or losing any downforce. But when you're up to like I guess 6/10 or 5/10 a second, then you really start to feel the loss in downforce, and it really becomes, yeah, fair good job of trying to keep up or let alone get closer. When you're about, I would guess, 3 to 2/10 behind, then it starts to become easier again, and you can actually start to attack. Yeah, well, Dennis did that literally.
Yeah, right on cue, as you spoke the words, Dennis Bergheim. Wow, that's another place for him for Lion GP Esports. Something didn't fracken. Just suppose he's dropped a couple of places. Oh dear, that's a big incident. He's no front nose, and well, bumping across the skate road there is not going to do the entry of that car any disservice whatsoever. Oh, it's all gone wrong for the Brit. Let's take a look. So he's all by himself here, Oliver. How's he going to do? How's he going to lose this one potentially?
Goes into the corner. On the exit, clipped the route way too fast on the exit. Tries to keep it on the road, clips the wall on the left, which fires him off into the right-hand side wall. Well, and that's pretty much race done, I guess, for him, unfortunately. Such a small mistake, such a big result.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there whatsoever. Well, a few casualties early on. I mean, it seems like James and Jamie Byrne were off the track. They've done well. They're back up into 12th and 13th. 20th and 21st then. Wouldn't be surprised to see them down there, considering that they were left floundering on the exit out of 3. But done well to recover that one of the 2 Americans. Meanwhile, Zamborski leads as we head out onto lap 6 by half a second over more down Lopez. Takama and Cornu just starting to drop back a little now. And well, they're out of draft range. And Oliver, you're the expert on this car. What can these two do to catch up to the top 3?
Well, first of all, it's important to find out which car is faster. Because the faster driver can easily lead up front, and the other one can, as I said before, just tuck himself behind him and just, well, relax more or less. And just try and follow him as good as he can. That's why, for example, Eddie Zamborski didn't want to attack Mordan, because if they would have fought for the first position, everybody would have caught up. Now they're just 3 guys running for the victory, and well, Fabio really needs to pick up his pace and try and close that gap. It doesn't look that big, but trust me, if you're so close in terms of pace against each other, that gap is quite a lot.
As Freckleton has come into the pits after his incident, Ara has got back out on the road. So in terms of true retirements right now, we've only actually got Brooker, Duresho and Lionel Mays who have exited the race. Down in towards the iconic Canada corner, just clipping the grass on the exit there to Zamborski. Leading the way. And of course, the drivers do have 8 available DRSs to use at any point during the race, as many times per lap. So Zamborski under a bit of pressure right now from Lewis Mugwan, who's dropped a few places in these early stages, hasn't he, Aaron?
Yeah, whereas Imsky, I mean, he had a pretty good start. He's up 3 places, but I think with some of the people charging through the field like Furkheim, he's just dropped back a little bit and has dropped into the clutches of the cars behind. The likes of Murugan is on the back of him right now. We know Eric has got plenty of experience in this car. We've seen him consistently in this series for the last year or two, I believe. And yeah, he's going strong at the moment. And yeah, let's see if he can hold on to 8th place.
He's going to definitely have the gap reduced by quite a bit down the, well, say back straight, technically the middle straight really here. Road America, but a lot of 90-degree corners. It should be quite boring. It's normally spoken about street circuits have a lot of 90-degree corners, but not here in Road America. It's really, really loved, as Aaron was saying earlier, by drivers and fans alike.
Oh, Merigran's made a mistake. I was just talking about him getting on the back of Rozimski, but yep, he's gone off somewhere. I think, judging by the looks of that, I think that's the corner before the carousel, and I think he just outbraked himself. We're on board with the number 10 coming into this next corner. Oh yeah, I can already tell that's way too late. Yeah, I'm guessing he got distracted by Eric and just completely missed his braking point.
He joins the circuit there. It's dropped him all the way down to 12th. Not what he would have hoped for, the Spaniard, whatsoever. In fact, now that is actually, yeah, he's dropped behind James Byrne. He's got Jamie Byrne not far behind him either, so interesting to see how that one plays out. Well, you can see the drivers that have been into the pits and they had to come out again. On the track map in the top right corner of your screen right now. These being the numbers being their positions in the race. So 16th is of course Jay Lawrence and 17th being Yukimi Harara, who is now a lap down in fact. To be fair, do you have to wonder if Jay Lawrence can remain on that lead lap as well as side-by-side action here. And that is the switch which we were wondering if it's going to happen. Cornu ahead of Takamo now up into 4th. But look who's right behind them. It's that man again, Dennis Furkheim. Not content with his 13 places. He wants place number 14 and 15 respectively that he has gained. And Oliver, where's his pace come from, Dennis? I mean, he's not a slouch, but we normally expect to see him running around in the midfield, but he is on fire tonight.
Yeah, Dennis usually, but I mean, Dennis is a really good driver. Credits where credits due. He can be really, really quick. Usually has a lot of bad luck in the SOF races and the top speed races, but he can race really, really good and is usually quite fast. But on this track here on Road America, he is really, really, really quick. We have seen him in the past few seasons ago. We have actually seen him racing against Zamborski for the lead. So it is to be expected for him to run up front, especially on this track. But yeah, good for us that he didn't got his qualifying together, because he can give us an epic show now of how to overtake in the Formula Renault 3.5.
Into the slipstream he goes. I'll come back to you shortly, Oliver, on what track it is that you just work with. I would say car and track, but we all know what car that's going to be. Of course, it's going to be the Formula Renault 3.5. There's on board with Takamo in front of us, who then has Cornu in front. And that gap actually to the lead group is starting to shrink a bit. However, I think that is slightly masked the fact that Lopez has just started to fall off the back of Samborski, and Mordan is bouncing off the rev limiter. Here goes Bergheim, and that's another place. That's 5th. That's at 14. Job done for now. Next up is the Frenchman Dennis Cornu. And you can see away. He's just eating up waves of track and reducing that gap down right now. So Oliver, what's the track that you just go, always have great results around, that you absolutely love driving, it just works with you?
It's difficult to say, really. I usually go really good, really fast on low downforce tracks, which this includes actually, but I've never been able to get the Formula Renault into the certain correct window on this track. My favorite tracks are normally Monza, Spa, Montreal, Road America on other cars, but yeah, it's something different because you have a lot more to work with in terms of car balance, as I've described in the last 2 weeks. it's just a different type of driving, I would guess. And yeah, some drivers are really good at it, some are not. It's just
Racing.
really.
Yeah, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Aaron, what about you? What's your OP combo?
Imola. Just Imola.
Just anything in Imola.
Yeah.
Not for me. I absolutely detest that track. I can't
Yeah,
drive it.
same,
Just
same.
can't get it to work. For me, LMP2 at Watkins Glen. Always have great results in that. Always.
Okay.
Can see Cornu. Wow, prediction time now, Aaron. Furcon. Is this going to be another place? Cornu down in the braking zone into 5.
Yep. I don't think there's too much competition against that. Here he goes down the inside, relatively simple overtake, and is already ahead of Cornu. I think Furcon is really setting the precedent right now. He, precedent. I can't speak today, but Furcon. I was checking his fastest laps, and he's actually only about half a tenth behind Zamborski's laps. And if you compare that to the likes of Lopez and Mordan, he's setting much quicker lap times than them.
Wow. He's man on the move, isn't he? So he's got 1.8 seconds to make up to a chance on the podium. That is Jorge Lopez, who's currently occupying that 3rd place and definitely struggling for pace at this midpoint of the race. Lap 10 out of 20 complete so far. So the races the Canada corner they go, and I tell you what, Cornu providing a bit more of a challenge for Furcon than anyone has done so far this race. The gap is just stabilising a little bit, just looking up and down through the field. Everything just dipped out there. Apologies about that.
Thought something weird happened there. Just
Yeah,
complete
it's just
silence.
just silent. Stop. Yeah, for some reason my internet decided, no, I don't want to show you the great action here from Road America for approximately 4 seconds, and that's all it takes for you to miss out. So yeah, I was just saying, you know, Cornu, he's finding a bit more of a fight, but I mean, Furcon is just. Well, he's sailing off into the distance a little bit right now, and also, interestingly, he's taken about 4 tenths out of Jorge Lopez as well. Chance on the podium here, I think, Aaron. Prediction, I think. Oh, do I want to? No, he's going to crash out in a big pool of destruction and fire because I don't want to put the curse of the commentator onto him.
Yeah, I think I have plenty of experience of commentating cursing, as Samuli knows very well. My commentator curse is perhaps the worst. A few weeks ago at Radicals, I literally was talking about someone having a good race. Then, as I was finishing my sentence, they spun and crashed out. So, you know, I'm gonna try and say this without cursing him. So, here goes. Furkheim may or may not get on the podium, but I think he may or may not be able to do better.
Lovely commitment there of sitting on the fence, Aaron. Love it. Absolutely love it. As well, you look at it, it's down to 8 tenths. So in space of a couple of laps, he's pretty much half the deficit, although Lopez definitely really struggling. I did catch, actually, a bit of dust being kicked up, centering into the carousel, and that was coming from Lopez, so, well, I think this is going to be another turn 5 overtake for Furcon. Or is it? Is it going to disprove me wrong? New fastest lap of the race there for Marlon Mordan. Wow, Furcon instantly swapping that one. There we go. That's third onto the podium.
I'm just absolutely staggered at that. Furkheim has gone 6 tenths of a second quicker than anyone else on this racetrack, which we have not seen anyone else do that in this series in a while. And you know what? I'm betting Furkheim may or may not be able to do better than third. I really do think that.
I mean, Ollie, surely, I mean, DRS has got to have played a part of that story for Dennis, surely, of why he's making so much progress and dispatching of people with relative ease.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen he had some really good slipstream, but also, as you said, DRS must have been active for that. I mean, 6 tenths is quite a lot, although it could be possible that he could have just gained that all the way just through slipstream.
I didn't see it open. And it's really easy to see on his car because it's bright green.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything.
it can be possible just to gain it through slipstream. But the point now is how many DRSs does he have left? Because now, as I described earlier, he will probably have trouble getting away. Let alone get to the guys up front, to Zambolski and Mordan. I don't know if he will just settle for third, because I mean he had this really good race up to now. So I could also think that Dennis will be satisfied with that and just well, except for the qualifying of course, but just settle down into third and just see, okay, what can I do here? I don't know. It's open. It's really open.
Well, I'll tell you what isn't open. Gap on his rear wing. He's definitely using his DRS.
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, you see, it's not like the F1 where the rear wing opens up. It just the bottom of the wing. There's a flap on it,
And
but
again,
it just shuts and it calls the wing to stall, which creates this low drag state, and he is not hanging around. Hence why he's reeled in everyone in front of him so far. And I mean, 3.2 seconds at the road. Well, it was 3.3 when they crossed the line. It's now down to 3 seconds. Bergheim is not hanging around whatsoever, and he's giving this absolutely everything he's got, the kitchen sink included. But that's a tall order. I mean, Zambolski and Mordan, they're lapping quickly and consistently, which is always the key. I know it's the old cliche, but even so, I think that might be an order too far. But I suppose equally he knows that, doesn't he, that we saw it earlier today in the Formula 4. If there's a mistake, you've got to be there to capitalise on it.
Well, I think some of these drivers might be a little bit more, what's the word, competent than some of the F4 races that we had earlier. That's maybe a bit of a harsh way of putting it, but I mean, F4 is always chaotic. This is a little bit more calm, a little bit more sensible. This series is always known for being very clean and calm racing. And all these drivers very consistent, very friendly towards each other most of the time. And I do think, you know, that thinking about it more, I think I kind of agree with Oliver, that I think he'll probably get this third unless there is some kind of mistake. He is setting good laps, but I don't think they're going to be good enough with only 6 laps to go.
The fastest lap of the race for Bergheim. 48.47. Now, in contrast to our leaders, they set last time around 48.61 for Zambolski and a 48.55 for Mordan. Excuse me, they're having a slight hiccup in seconds. So ran out a tenth faster than them. But it's when he runs out of them, of course, as I mentioned earlier, only 8 available DRSs throughout the entirety of the race. But he has broken the slipstream to Lopez behind, and that's the crucial part as Lopez runs wide, and this is going to give Corny the chance to clinch 4th place from him. And the Frenchman gets it done over the Spaniard, and wow, what can Fabio Di Carmo do? Knows that Lopez won't be quite in the same mindset after losing that place and running wide, and needs to capitalise as quickly as possible. But for luck for him, it's a big long straight coming up. A little bit of a kink in the middle, maybe. And of course, Canada corner. What can the Brazilian do? Can he get it done as they swing through the kink? What's the DRS line? Well, that affects these cars whatsoever. And you can see that, wow, Lopez just moved his car across the middle of the track there. Opening up that bit more defensive line, just saying to Di Carmo, no, you don't. No, you don't. You're not having it off me yet. But will it all just be immaterial when they go across the start-finish line in this big, long slipstream fest? Here we go. Here we go. Closing is Di Carmo. He's closing. He's closing. Is he going to pull out? Is he going to fake a move? No, he's going to sit behind him. Is he just saving himself for the exit out of 3? That run down to 5. Let's find out. Here's turn 3. All looks good. Nobody runs wide, but Di Carmo squirrely on the exit, and that might just be the difference to allow Lopez to hold on to 5th place for now. Because they're all being towed along nicely by Cornu as well. And there you go. Cornu holds on to it. So Lopez holds on to it for now, but I tell you, Aaron, Lopez is running into 5 a lot more deeper and taking a much wider exit as well, getting more closer to the edge of the tarmac and that runoff area than any of the other drivers.
Yeah, this is the good thing about this track. It's a little bit more old school than some of the more modern tracks we're used to, especially like street circuits. The fact that on this track you can take relatively different lines and different ways into each corner than some of your other competitors, and you'll still relatively be around the same pace or even better. As we saw through the carousel, a few drivers taking a different line through that corner, but is Lopez gonna go for a move into Canada corner? Not quite. I think that was the sensible thing to do, as Canada corner isn't quite a heavy braking zone enough to lunge it down the inside, as it is I'd say a medium speed corner. I think it's about 3rd, 4th gear in these cars. So I think Lopez is playing the smart game right now, not doing anything too risky, and that's why this series has the reputation it has.
So head down towards turn 1. It's a lap 16 out of 20. Samborski leads from Mordan Fairkheim. He's really opened up a big old gap. Corny behind him, and I think he's run out of DRS usage because that gap between himself and Mordan is extended now from 3.1 out to 3.8 seconds. Corny is 2.6 seconds behind Fairkheim. Then has Lopez and DeCarmo in tow. Ponick, he's in 7th in a little world of his own. Azamowski 1.8 behind him, and then a big gap back to James Byrne. Yuki Shirakawa is in 10th right now. And then we've got Victor Ord, who's up 2 places into 11th. Lewis Morgan, Jamie Byrne, Moraine, and Akin. And then of the drivers who've headed into the pits, Jay Lawrence, the last of those on the lead lap. Ferrara did get going again, but did come out a lap down into 17th, with retirees being Freckleton, we lost in lap 5. Brooker, we lost in lap 2, and Carlos Duresha and Lionel Mays, who we lost obviously on the opening lap. Next, that's a new personal best there. This gap up front just starting to eke out a little bit. Been half a second for quite a while now, but we're out to the 0.8 of a second. This Samborski just starting to turn up the screw here at Road America. Pull away and just try and break that draft from the Frenchman behind. But look, as he closes in, does Mordan. Both of them. DRS deploy. No, Mordan, no DRS there, Oliver, I see.
Okay, that's interesting. Either
Actually, yeah, actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's so hard to say, especially when Samborski has an all-black wing. I mean, come on, Eddie. Give us commentators half a fighting chance here. But I think Mordan had his...
Mordan has DRS. Mordan has DRS now because he had the risk of falling out of the slipstream window, I would guess, or I would say. So just to get within the reach of Samborski, just stay within and just uses the DRS as much as he has to. He obviously wants to save as many as he can for the late attack, because I mean, they're so close in pace now. It's really, really difficult just to get close enough to try to make an attempt without DRS. It's going to be really, really difficult, and interesting, of course, how many they have left.
Well, that's the big thing. We don't know, do we? We have no idea whatsoever. The only people that do know are the drivers themselves, and they might have a bit of an idea of someone who they've been racing the whole race long, how many they've used, where they've deployed them. So we head through the king down towards Canada corner. Mordan just at risk. He's just eking out, just loitering on the edge. 7 says, here we go, Lopez and Cornu. And that is Lopez ahead, retaking 4th from Cornu, and it's starting to come back to the Spaniard right now. Finding that groove, finding that form, and Cornu needs to be careful because DeCarmo's all over the back of him. What can the Brazilian do? So we're going to head out to lap 18 out of 20. New fastest lap in the race for Samborski. New personal best for Mordan. So he gets 200ths of a second slower. Takamo pulls out for the slipstream. The race onto turn 1 is fully on here. Takamo's ahead. Can he have both of them into turn 1 as he goes side by side and he gets it done? Does the Brazilian, but Lopez is still on the outside trying to fight back and they almost touch wheels. And Lopez comes off worse.
That was super, super close. I have no idea how on earth they all just came away from that. I mean, we know how sensitive these cars are to contact, and they all came away with it relatively okay. They all are still close to each other, and that is superb racing from all of them to keep it clean, just about. And what a move by Takamo to jump both of them down that main straight, and fair play.
What a great move. Just showcasing that just timing your run to perfection, what you can achieve. That's up to you, Fabio Takamo. However, he's going to have 2 more laps left to defend his position. Being in front is not always necessarily the best place to be, as here comes Cornu. And is it going to be short-lived, Takamo being in 4th, because Cornu is on driver's right of Takamo. And onto the brakes, the Frenchman goes ahead. It's advantage him for now. Lopez trying to capitalize on Takamo's, well, loss of place and to make it 2, but can't get the move done. Couldn't find a way past as Takamo found his car as wide as possible. And Lopez getting a really, really good exit there off the final corner. Another new fastest lap of the race from Samborski. Look at that gap already. Mordan, has he... No, he's not even come off track. He must have surely made a mistake. 1.8 seconds, that gap now between our top 2. It's all about what these 3 can do in this intriguing battle for 4th.
Yeah, I was watching Mordan's time sort of tumble throughout that last lap, and I think once he fell outside of that slipstream, he's just not been able to keep with Zamborski. And I've sort of realised this over the past few weeks, that Zamborski has really strong pace at the end of the race, mainly because he does save DRS a lot of the time. But yeah, I think now this is sort of Zamborski's race to lose. He's got a comfortable gap to Mordan behind. Of course, Mordan did impressive to stay within around half a second for most of this race. And of course, Furkheim putting in an incredible performance, up 16 places on the podium at the moment, watching other drivers make mistakes and, well, him just having better pace. But I think Furkheim might have killed his tyres a little bit coming through the field, and possibly he's just calming down now and is just settling for that 3rd place. He can definitely be happy with this one.
We can up an incredible 16 places as Furkheim. Started 19th, up into 3rd. What a way to get on the podium. It's all kicking off, and once again, Lopez nearly getting in front of Takamo there, but the Brazilian just having that inside line covered off. And as they come across the line, they're going to take the white flag. Last lap of the race. Here we go. No new fastest lap of the race. Not even personal best. But Samborski, Mordan really dropping off, just 6 times slower on that lap alone. This is going to be a bit of a victory tour here from Samborski. Let's watch this series perform. You know, he just keeps pushing right until the very end. The amount of times I've seen him pop out a fastest lap of the race on the final lap while leading by a country mile. It's been absolutely a countless amount of times. But we've still got positions up for grabs. It's that battle for 4th that we've seen so much of this race. And here comes the big overtaking opportunity. Corny just getting away now. Lopez and Takamo into one another once again. Is Takamo going to defend it? Yes, it does. He lunges in deep. Lopez is going to come straight back out of him up the hill as they head under the bridge. And can the Spaniard sneak his car on the inside?
Takamo's off.
No.
Yeah, I think Takamo coming up the hill, he's going to have to be careful to not hit into Ponic. But yeah, I just think coming up that hill, as you come over the top of the hill, your car sort of just loses a lot of traction as the tyres kind of let go from the track surface. But these guys getting so close to each other, Byrne and Shirakawa going wheel to wheel, and they're still side by side, but Shirakawa just nudging ahead as they come into the carousel. and James is just going to have to sit behind, and he's going to have probably one more overtaking opportunity, and also watching Takamo fall into the clutches of Eric Rozimski. Into Canada corner do we go. Takamo just about keeping ahead, and well, Zamborski comes across the line to win in Road America, setting a 47-7.
How?
Wow.
Not wow. How?
You're not wrong there. Well, it's not all done and dusted though. This is going to be a race to the line between Shirakawa and James Byrne. Byrne on the outside. He's going to carry the momentum. They almost touch wheels, and I think Byrne
Byrne's got
might have
it.
just. I think he has.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, here comes
It's close.
Shirakawa back at him, and wow, 300ths of a second across the line between those two. As close as you like. Well, that was fast, furious, and frantic, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm just shocked at that last lap from Zamborski. I think he must have just used up every single DRS activation he had left and was on a mission. I don't know how he did that, and I don't think Oliver does either.
Nope.
So I'm looking at what is the second fastest lap of the race, put it because of contract. So obviously fastest lap being that last one from Zamborski, 47.7. Next closest was a 48.4. So it was full, what, 7/10 quicker. Where do you find that pace from, Ollie?
The only explanation I have is just saving up DRSs. Really, I mean, even Eddie Zamborski can't be 7/10 a second faster just in one lap without just a generous line. No chance. But that would have been risky as well, if you think about it, because if you would have Mordan right behind him still, it's just, he must have been really confident defending against him, saving up all the DRSs. That's incredible. The race itself was really, really strong.
It was indeed. There is your winner here today from Road America. Zamborski take a bow. He heads into the pits. Let's take you through some classified results here from Road America. Zamborski wins from Mordan Furkheim. Of an incredible 16 places. I was just listening to the in-game comms, and a few people congratulating him and saying, well, how did you manage that one? Well, we saw it, and I'm sure those watching the broadcast back will know exactly how he managed that one. Cornu fourth, then Lopez fifth, Ponick, DeCarmo in the end, gutting for him, had to finish in seventh. It could have been as high as fourth potentially. There's some Muskie in eighth. James Byrne in the end just beating Shirakawa at the line by 300ths of a second. That rounds out your top 10. Jamie Byrne in the end, 11th. To be fair, both the Burns, great recovery from them. Let's remember, they were just left stranded on the exit of turn 3 on the opening lap, so they come back home in 9th and 11th. It's a cracking result for them. Moraine 12th, Akin 13th, then it's Ord, and Murugan and Lawrence, last drivers to finish on the lead lap. A great effort from Lawrence to keep himself on the lead lap there. Carrara gutting for him after sticking it on pole. Comes home 17th and one lap down, then into retirement. Frackton, Brooker, Deresho, of course, involved in that first corner incident with Hara. And Lionel Mays lost him on the first lap as well. Should have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers, and I think first off, I mean, there were some great performances out there, but up 16 places, Dennis Furkheim, what a performance that was. I mean, I know you gained a few from the first corner melee, shall we say, but even so, you were on fire today. I mean, I think this is hands down the best result I've ever seen you put in.
Yeah, thanks guys, and congrats to Ed and Marlon. Yeah, well, it's a hell of a race. Was lots of fun. Unfortunately, I did not get a quali lap. I had some bad luck, and yeah, but that was a great race. Yeah, last 6 laps my tires were dead, and me as well, so I couldn't push anymore. So I cruised a little bit and hoped the guys behind me were going for a fight. So I was yeah, a little bit in the luck.
I mean, I know you've got to get yourself there to, you know, capitalise on other people's mistakes, but just talk us through, you know, your opening sort of first half of the race, because that's certainly where the bulk of the action was for you, and you know how you were deploying your DRSs throughout that first stage of the race, if at all.
Yeah, I think the first couple of races until I was up to my teammate, to Mark, who did also great race. I did not use any DRS. And after that I tried to catch the guys and use a little bit DRS. But yeah, and it was fun, but you know, I was really angry because for quali I could have easily gone in the top 5 or even further in the first rows. But so I said, no, let's go for it. And I had a little bit of luck in the few first corners, but anyway, it was great.
Well, you know, you say about that frustration, Dennis. Equally, you know, you wouldn't have be able to have the, you know, the kudos and the stature of making up 16 places in one race. A spectacular effort. Anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Oh, it was a great race. All the drivers here in the SOF race. Yeah, well, it was fun. Yeah, and my team and Mark as well, and Olive, thanks, and you guys for commentating. And yeah.
Definitely, congratulations. That's Des Verkheim, who came home third for Line GP Esports. Aaron, I'll let you have the honours of having a chat to our race winner.
I am absolutely honoured, and well, I think before we get into any questions about the race, Eddie, that last lap, how?
I
Explain.
I took a look at the timesheet before the start of the race, and that was one of my goals, assuming I had the chance, which I didn't think I was going to. Arlon had great pressure the whole race. Towards halfway, I realized that I had to step it up because he was really close on me. I was trying to just milk it, you know, and keep him behind me, but it just wasn't working, so I just went for maximum effort. And then I just started, because I was doing that, I started really learning where the limit was, and then I figured with one lap to go, what does it matter if you overheat the tires? And I had a little bit of a gap, so I knew if I had to get out of the gas or if I ran a little wide, it wasn't a big deal. So I summoned all the practice laps that I've done for the situation, you know, last lap heroics, and it worked. I don't know, parts luck, part skill, I guess, part having DRS left.
Well, I mean, you were only 700ths off of your qualifying time, which is just absolutely mental. But yeah, speaking of qualifying, were you surprised to be all the way down in 4th, or did you sort of expect it?
Well, I knew I had the pace because I should have turned a 46.9. But lap 2, turn 1, I decided to miss the apex by, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was enough to put the car over the curb and give me an off track. So I was sitting there dreadful. I was like, oh no, here comes a P10 start. And then luckily the first lap, because my first lap is never really attack. It's just good enough in case I do something stupid like this to get a top 5 like I did today. I mean, I was already up a 10th and a half going into the first corner because I was ready, you know?
Yeah, it kind of seems like whenever you have a bad qualifying and people qualify ahead of you, they just have a horrible first lap. I mean, we had Hara and Duresho today, and I think last season Yuki was ahead of you, and then within 4 corners just bottled it. So I think some drivers just get too intimidated by you and just end up crashing out anyway. But did you, speaking of Mordan as well, did you think he'd be able to take the fight to you properly today, or did you firmly have him in your rear wing?
100%. Thought he was going to be right on pace, and the same with Dennis. Dennis didn't get a qualifying lap in. I mean, the guy marched through the entire field, basically as far as I think you can get. And I couldn't get away, and that was genuine. I'm not, you know, I wasn't sandbagging, I wasn't playing games. I genuinely could not get away until he made a couple little errors, and I realized, well, you need the win because you don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. So I put the pedal down as best I could, and he was right there. He didn't care. He's like, all right, fine, we'll go half a second faster. See if I care.
Well, it was certainly entertaining to watch for sure. You two battle it out, especially those opening few laps. That was really something to watch. But going into next week, are you confident in your ability that you'll be able to replicate today?
What is it, Red Bull Ring?
Yeah, I believe so.
No, I'm not. I do not. My driving style and what you have to do at Red Bull Ring are kind of opposite. the way I describe it, you have to be very punchy and quick on the inputs, and I like to be kind of longer and smooth. So I will spend all week trying to relearn how to do that because I have to do it every season. I honestly, if I can start top 3 and then not lose any draft and take the fight, that'll be the goal. You just never know. I mean, today with Hara and Carlos, I mean, they made it real easy for us to win. But if them guys stay in the race, I mean, do I even get out of P4? I don't know. So we'll see what happens, because next week there's only one really big straightaway as far as I'm concerned, you know?
Well, actually, I stand corrected. Next week is Interlagos, and the weekend after that is Watkins, and then we go to the Red Bull Ring. So you've got a few weeks to practice for Red Bull Ring. But yeah, Interlagos then, change of subject. Is that a good track for you?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I have no issues practicing it. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I've had a good run recently, so hopefully I can keep it going.
Well, it's been a pleasure to watch you race today. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Absolutely. I would like to thank the drivers, all the new interest, iRacing for their continuing effort to give us more tracks and, you know, a better service to race on. I'd like to thank Apex for doing the broadcast, everyone in the booth here. I mean, it's a real great effort to see everyone out here trying to keep the series going.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Eddie, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds like a plan.
There we go, race winner, Annie Samborski. But well, so we're running into overtime now. Time to close things out. What a race it has been. Just drama throughout, but well, we come to expect it from this series. I've been Tim Cox with Aaron Smith and Oliver Quoker. It's Smooly Kumo, and we'll see you in a week's time from Interlagos. See you then.